Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the country, in the world, and whether you're watching this on the replay or not. Terry Patterson says he won't make it, so he will be watching on the replay for sure. It's been a lively conversation already. Two more left. Today's this penultimate webinar in this 30 for 30 series. I've actually done more than 30. I've actually already done 30. So theoretically, I could just stop and go, right, I'm done. But we did say we would. Here's our schedule, and it had 30 in it, and I've done 34, I think, all told, for other topics. But it just depends what it is. Briefly say hello to a few people. Malcolm, who I have been interacting with on the email, and he sent me some stuff that I'm probably going to feature in a future webinar. Actually, it was quite interesting. And we've got a few people checking in all of a sudden from Lisboa in Portugal, going to Portugal another year, I think, and we went last year. Lewisburg, JP, hello JP from the Taurus TLS project, excellent MVP. And Ogunza from from sunny and humid Nigeria. A great day to listen to to Ian Barker. Yes, the humidity will make you drop off as my voice gently lulls you to sleep. There you go. And Francis in Wilton as well. And I also noticed one other person on here. I just want to call him out. Here we go. Yes. Ignacy. Now he phoned me. Sorry, he emailed me, not phoned me. That would be weird. He emailed me about the project he's working on, and as he said, it's his first app, and he was using BLE devices, and he was telling me, he picked up some of it from the webinars. Good on you. Well done. I really appreciate you giving me the feedback, and also, you're working on your project. It's really interesting stuff. He said also he used Castry from permissions. I'm going to mention Castry again today. Today I'm not really going to show much, but I am going to show a lot of slides with links to other information, and we've got a video of a couple of things as well. But why are they called Roku devices? Okay, so I always pronounce it Roku, and I've never heard anybody else say the word out loud. So I'm guessing they're not called Roku. I think it is Roku, and it could be, like you say, it's because it might be the Japanese number for 6 or something, and maybe someone did 5 versions, and this was the 6th one that was great or something. But Roku, I could understand if it was like a music device or something, like rock music. Ugh, sorry about that. Hair on my tongue. I don't know why they're called Roku devices. Actually, it's a good name. I think it's quite catchy. I actually personally, I have a Roku TV over that way, and a Roku Ultra over that way, and I've had loads of the devices over the years, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about them in the webinar today. You cannot directly program with the RAD Studio, so I'm going to tell you how you can do it. But we're going to talk about other devices that you can program, including the Meta headset and stuff like that. Patrick's here as well. Hello, Patrick. Salut, my friend. We're nearly at the end, and then we see each other in June. And Nigel is showing his age a little bit there. Nigel Armstrong, one of our frequent flyers, saying his phone is a 15-year-old BlackBerry. Do they even work now? Because didn't they have like a BlackBerry server that they had to have in the middle that did all the push notifications and everything? I don't know. Maybe something else has happened since those days, but I'm not sure. Nigel, sure, you can do better than me. That it's easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Yeah, you know what? We have a webinar coming up on the 9th of May about how to cross-train developers from other languages into Delphi, because it's such an easy language to learn, and Ignacy will probably bear that out. But remembering that Object Pascal, which is a foundation of Delphi, Pascal was invented to be a teaching language almost, but certainly an expressive and easy to learn language. And for a longest time, it was it ruled the roost in terms of being the way that most people on a computer science course were introduced to software development. There was C as well, but C was always quite complex, and so they used to use Pascal as a kind of, here's how a loop works, here what are variables and stuff like that. Basic came along, but I think Basic always suffered from a few problems over the years, and Pascal was much more prevalent. So there you go. Steve Geordie was talking about Maine, Portland we were talking about, and Thomas is here again from Austria as well. And I think I've got everybody so far. I've either flashed them up on the screen, most of the rest of chats. Yes, Helios says conferences, groups, and community, where to go and where to be seen this year. It runs today. No, that's incorrect. That's this Friday coming. If you've been told it's today, that's not correct. It's on Friday. It's the last one, deliberately, because by then I will know what events are happening, because most of them crystallize now. I've been invited to about 5 or 6 to present or do the keynote or just be there. And if they're saying that it's Friday, it's today, that's wrong. Okay, it's Friday. And I'll have a word with our people if that's wrong, and get them to send out an email correcting it. It's Friday. Yes, it is Friday, Helios. Thank you. And then says, thank you. Yeah, it's fine. And Nigel says it's the same way. Roku, yes. I got the email. I think the image says 25. Yes, that would probably be right. Because Friday's the 25th, I think. And here's a little tip: on Friday, I'm doing that thing about conferences, and then I'm flying off to Denmark very quickly after that for a conference there for 2 days. And yeah, he says it's the 25th. Patrick says it's the 25th as well. All right, we'll check that. We'll find out. It is definitely Friday. So if the email says the webinar's today, then that's partially my fault because I do check them. But I have been a bit busy. I couldn't tell you all the things that have gone on. I've moved, and as you know, from the new backdrop, and my dog passed away yesterday. I had to take her to the vets. Unfortunately, she'd been sick for some time, but unfortunately, she's no longer with us. So there you go. Sad time. And if you want to get an idea of what she looked like and what she did, this pretty much sums my dog up. That is her face, a close up, that big nose and tongue. That's what she likes. So bless her. That's Chloe. She is unfortunately no longer with us. Very sad. How and where to find the webinar developers you need? Yes. Okay. Hi, Khalid from Algeria, Ukraine. Andre, and the Baltic Sea from Germany. Francis says, I had to check on inspection. It was the 25th. And Fabio. Hello, Fabio. Again, good to see you back. Okay, so I am off to do some other things after this webinar, so it's going to be reasonably brief. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about your dog. Yes, thank you, JP. Yeah, I've always been a dog lover. I actually worked in a kennels at one point, and with the surname Barker, the last name Barker, can you imagine how much grief I got going, are you really called Mr. Barker and you work in the kennels? I'm like, yes, that was my real name. Yeah, it was not cool, but it was a good job. But I've always loved dogs, and you can not see him very well, but there he is. That's the one that's still around. This is Nemo. He's fast asleep snoring at the moment. This is like a weighted blanket he's sleeping on, but you'll see him in the webinars from time to time. He turns up. He's a good lad. He's a rescue dog, but unfortunately his buddy, they've been friends since they were both puppies, no longer here. Anyway, enough of the sad stuff. Let's go on to share my screen, and let's get on to the contents of the webinar. Now, let me pick my correct screen, which is was your nickname Patch? No, actually it was Woof Woof. when you're a kid at school, they're not very creative, shall we say. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you some slides, and I've also got some video of other people talking about this subject as well, and some links to the video. Hello, Marco from Kalamazoo in Missouri. Hi there. Just to make sure that, and the reason and people sometimes say, "Oh, why do you keep mentioning where people are?" Well, the reason is that sometimes people say, "Oh, I don't know any developers locally," and I get that. I understand that. You know, it's not. Sorry, I wipe my nose for a second. It's not. It's not unrealistic to say that Delphi went through a big slump for a long time, and we are on an upward curve now. That's a fact. And certainly, sales team had a very good year last year. I mean, it's not like astronomical. I'm not going to be going and buying a gold-plated Rolls Royce and having a Jimi Hendrix's original guitar on my back shelf or anything, but it was good, and we are creeping up those charts and things like that. And there are people using the projects, but a lot of people say, I don't know any other developers around me. So the reason that I call out the locations you're from is so that people go, oh, there's someone in Kalamazoo. Oh, there's someone in, for example, Costa Rica. And and the Ukraine, as we mentioned earlier on, and Germany, and all Algeria, and all the other countries. It is important that you know you are not alone. I am building the community up. I'm doing what I can for the language, and that doesn't just mean Delphi and RAD Studio, but it also means Object Pascal in general. Okay, now I obviously think that Delphi is the best language out there, and I think that C++ Builder is becoming a very creditable development system as well. And but I accept that not everybody's going to choose that. We have a free version, the CE version, but if you are not going to use our stuff, and that's fine, that's up to you, then at least use Object Pascal. And by that I mean Free Pascal and Lazarus or something like that. We appeal to different markets, but the principles are the same, and there are different capabilities between the things out there, but we are not enemies. We are more akin to cousins or family members. And anybody that thinks that I do not get on with Free Pascal people, you're wrong. And you quite often hear these things, people saying, "Oh, there's some politics going on and stuff." Not from me, you're not. And I can tell you, I talk to a lot of those guys and get on absolutely fine with them. Anyway, enough of that. Let's share my slides. Let's see if I can actually get the slideshow showing in the right place without drama. Oh, that looks good. There you go. And I believe I can do this. I know you can all see me on camera at the moment because I've got the camera up. There. Right. Philippe says hello from Brazil as well. See, I told you, somebody's everywhere, and this is what it's all about. And on Friday, we're specifically talking about user groups and communities around the world. I mean, I do a lot of events throughout the year. I travel a lot, which is a bit of a pain, to be honest. It's great when you're going on holiday and sitting on the beach, but when you're getting off a plane and going and do 16 hours of presentations or something, it's tough stuff. But I guess it's better to say hello from Brazil, and another one, Ivan Souza, who I know personally as well. I met him a few times. He's in Brazil as well, so there you go. But the community is important. So enough from my talking around. If I would tell you that it is, oh well, thank you, Celine. I really do. I mean, this is not an act. I mean, I am paid to talk about the product. but I have been a Delphi developer since the very first day, since literally the day it was released. I ordered it as soon as I saw it released because I just knew it was the right thing. And I'm still a Delphi developer. I get up every day and I write code. I'm a software developer first and foremost. I always will be until the day I die, I hope. Depending on how my fingers and my brain work. But yeah, thank you, Salim. I really appreciate that. And I do get a lot of fairly positive feedback from people. So there you go. Right. So let's talk about today's subject. Like I said, I've got some links and I've got some video to show you as well. But one of the videos, although very good, doesn't really show the steps that I think are quite important to actually get to the point where things are working as you want. So let's go through them. So welcome to 3030 webinars. We're on number 29 of 30. Hooray! And we're nearly done. This one today is really feeling like webinar number 744. Who am I? If you don't know who I am, and not everybody does, I get that. My name is Ian Barker, and I'm the Embarcadero Developer Advocate. You can email me, please do, at ian.barker@embarcadero.com. I do answer my emails. I'm really, really, really busy, but that doesn't matter. I'm here for you, and I mean it, and I will respond. I'm not there for technical support. I'm not going to solve your problems. I might point you in the right direction, or I might know the answer. But ask me a question if you've got one, and I will respond, or at least point you in the direction of someone who does know. There are much better people than me working on the support desk. They know everything, and I know almost nothing. You can read about me at about.me/Ian Barker. Today's webinar is it's kind of a mishmash. We couldn't fit everything in the title, so we picked this title to explain what we're going to talk about, and that is writing apps for smartwatches, Roku devices, and MetaQuest VR headsets. But we're actually going to talk about quite a lot more of devices. Some of the connectivity I'm going to show you in a video because it's actually very difficult for me to do it live. Because things suddenly interfere with my camera and stuff like that when I plug things in and so on and so forth. Van Swafford says, greetings from Nashville. Hello there, Van. Good to hear you, that you're over there. So what devices can we program with RAD Studio? For sure. Okay, well, out of the box with RAD Studio using Delphi, but also for C++ builder, you can write apps that are native apps for Intel. At the moment, you cannot create native ARM apps for Windows. However, Microsoft have done a lot of work, and Marcus says we've got 47,000 subscribers heading towards the 1 million. Yes, it's going to be a slow route, I think, but even so. But yes, at the moment, Microsoft are pushing very hard for ARM compilers for Windows, and it's reasonably straightforward, but also quite a lot of work. And because Microsoft recognize that, first of all, they've reached out to us, and we've reciprocated and gone back to them as well. And they are looking into, convincing us to have an ARM compiler. And of course, we're very, very interested in that as a target, especially for Windows and probably for Linux as well. But Microsoft have done a lot of very good work on making Intel apps work on ARM Windows. And I can tell you for certain that if you've got an ARM PC, very probably your apps that are written in Delphi or C++ builder will work absolutely fine on Windows ARM. And they will even work on a Mac under Windows ARM as well. So if you've got something like Parallels, then it's going to work absolutely fine. I tell you that now because I have a Mac Air sitting behind me. Hello, Don from Ghana. And it's running Parallels, and I have RAD Studio inside there. And it works okay. I don't have any problems. I know some people have a few problems. It seem to be Parallels related and very high resolutions and stuff because the M4 can support two 5K monitors, so it gets a bit hairy. Steve says it would be nice to have ARM on Linux as well. Yes, this is something that I would push for internally in the company, but it's about logistics. I hope that we would be able to do ARM on Linux. I really do, but I can't say for certain that that's what we're doing at the moment. Microsoft, no, we're not just intending it to be Microsoft Windows. And Microsoft don't tell us what to do, but they do cooperate with us. So, Windows ARM is there. Now, if you're using C++ builder, then you can do Intel apps as well. And certainly the new compiler is wishy, swishy cool and does all sorts of things because it's now based on Clang or Clang. And here, boy, it's fast as well and extremely powerful. But in order to get that Clang compiler working, unfortunately, we had no option but to not have the mobile platforms on. So if you want to go to mobile and support mobile development on there, then unfortunately the only way to do that is to use Delphi. I say unfortunately, I mean it's a very, very easy language to learn, and if you're a C++ builder, then it's going to be fine anyway. It's going to work straight out of the box for Windows. Let me just get rid of those messages there because I'm just putting them up. If you're using Delphi, you can, out of the box, target the MacBook Pro, which is that big thing that looks like a trash can. And it's the most expensive trash can in the world. But I think that's being rude because they are nice development machines. They now made it a cube, I think, or something like that. It's a beast of a machine. I know that a couple of MVPs that I know who are writing Mac apps all the time, they've got these Mac Pro, sorry, not MacBook Pro, Mac Pro. I've left it off of this, but the Mac Pro, it works on that. It works on the MacBook Pro, which is my typo there, and also the MacBook Air, Mac Mini. I used a Mac Mini for development for quite a long time. Marco says he's using the M2 MacBook Pro, and I love it. Works great. Yes, it's fantastic. I really, the MacBook M4, to me, using it is like going back to the good old days of the early MacBooks, which were always the best laptops out there. Johnny Ive, the developer at the time, he really knew what he was doing when it came to making really good quality portable Macs and things like that. You can also target the Apple iMac. You see a lot of those devices around. There's a business center where I'm living here, and they've got nothing but iMacs from wall to wall. You can also target Linux. And there are different distros, and anybody who's a Linux person will know that there are as many distros as there are, stars in the sky. The most popular ones being Ubuntu and Debian-based type distros and things like that. But you can target Linux, and it will work fine. FMX Linux is available if you had version 12.0 to 0.1, I think. And we're looking to bring that back. There was some news recently about that, and we're hoping to be make an announcement sooner rather than later, because we know that everybody loved FMX Linux. But you can still, if you've got FMX Linux available, you can have that working. It'll work with 12.3, and you can also do server apps on Linux as well. Well, that's great, but what about other types of devices? Well, you can also, for sure, and I know this because I've done all of these devices, target the Apple iPhone, well, yeah, and the Apple iPad, absolutely no problem. Android phones, most Android phones, not all of them, but most of them, and you can even still target Android 32-bit devices, which are not really supported anymore by anybody. They're not very common, but you can still currently target Android 32-bit devices and Android 32-bit phones. You can also target Android tablets, and some of those might be the older Samsung devices. There was one that was a white one. I can't remember what it was. It was called a Galaxy Tablet 4 or something, and that was a 32-bit device, and you can target those. But if you're currently targeting those devices, the older 32-bit ones, I would say do not rely on that happening forever, because everybody, and I mean everybody, is stopping supporting that support. And once it gets to the point where we can't support the SDKs anymore, then obviously we will not be able to support it either. It's not something we can do anything about. If Android moves on, then you're stuck, really. Android watches. Well, okay, I have got an Android watch. I've actually got a Samsung Galaxy 5 watch, I think, and you can target those as well. And I'm going to show you a page that tells you how to do that with the commands to do that. And essentially, targeting a watch is almost the same principle as targeting an Android phone or a tablet. With Galaxy Tab 4, yes, Steve, that's what it was. Yeah, white tablet thing. And I've written an Apple Works on it. So with Android, you don't need any other intermediate devices. Okay. With Apple devices, you do need to have an Apple PC or a laptop. Okay. So if you want to develop for the iPhone or the iPad, you have no option apart from having some form of Apple device available for yourself, because that's the way that Apple likes to do things. They marshal all of the compilers and things like that so that they are using Apple hardware. Don't blame them. It's a very clever technique to make sure that they are their ecosystem is protected. You do not have to own that device. It could be anybody's. Let's say you work in an office and someone's got a PC, sorry, an Apple Mac or a MacBook somewhere, and they're friendly with you. You could actually compile on their device. The only trouble would be things like the Apple developer account would need to be in their name or your name, depending on how it works. But in theory, you could run PA server on their device, compile your apps, and then off you go. You've got access to a Mac somewhere. The other thing you could do is do one of the online services that I've talked about in the past. So it could be Mac in Cloud or Mac Stadium. Both of those are cloud-based Mac providers, and you basically rent some space on a Mac on the internet. And David I, who I don't believe is watching today, quite often watches on Fridays. But David I has also given some links before for not Hackintoshes, which are unauthorized running Mac OS on non-Apple hardware, but you can run up-to-date versions of Mac OS on older, slightly obsolete Mac hardware. And we've talked about this in a previous webinar in the 30 for 30 series as well. And also, if you go to the Learn tab, it's going to be in there as well. And so, those are supported via a Mac. The Android, as I say, you don't need anything. And that includes the Amazon Fire tablet. Now, if you see down the bottom there, that orange banner, those are Fire tablets. And I'd actually tried a couple of different ones. I had a HD10 and a HD5. And all you need to do is deploy to it as if it's a Android device. I haven't done it recently, but what you used to have to do was install the Google Play services on the device. And I think something changed a while ago, and they include that by default. And now you can include Android apps on that. Don't hold me to it. You'll need to test this yourself, because it's not really something that Amazon like you to do. But you can submit, and I've done a webinar about this, submit to the Amazon Fire Store, and you can target Amazon Fire tablets. And I think they do another Fire device, like a Fire TV, that's it, yeah, and I think that might work as well, because basically Amazon Fire OS is basically a version of Android. It's got a few things, ripped off it, but it was straightforward. And then the final thing that you can target is, if you see that image in the background to the right of the orange watch, all those images there are Linux tablets. And there are a lot of Linux tablets out there, and I mean a lot, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ones. You can't target all of them, because some of them are real hacked up messes of Linux to make them work, and some of them are super fancy and locked down, and only support certain, SDKs and things like that. But many of them are just straightforward, running Ubuntu or something like that, and you can deploy to them. And I did have a device which was a Sharp, the company Sharp device that was a Linux thing, and I've deployed to that and it worked fine. So you can deploy to Linux targets as well. Sylvia Bouillon says, I used to have an LG watch, the first Google watch, and dev on it, you simply have to have an application on the phone as a server because the API didn't allow web access, direct web access. Is this still the case? I think the LG you're talking about didn't run Android properly. It probably used Tizen or some other weird version, an early version. But yeah, I mean, you should be able to do it. Steve Geordie said he had an LG watch as well, and you deploy over Bluetooth. That gives you enough time to get out and eat a pizza somewhere while it's installing. Yeah, okay. Now you know why I'm not showing the debugging and installing on Bluetooth, because it'll be here forever. But that's the principle. Yes, you can deploy over Bluetooth, and I'm going to show you a link in a moment. But anyway, those are some of the devices that you can support right out the box, and no messing around, no fiddling or anything like that. It will work. Now, some of the watches have a little additional step as well, but we're going to talk about that in a moment. But actually, usually it's just an Android app. And as long as the screen is configured correctly for these devices so that they fit, and if not, you can hack around your screen so that it does fit, you should find that it works fine. Most of them are, designed to be based on Android, and therefore compatibility is quite high. There are some other weird devices, okay, that you can also target. And one of them is the MetaQuest VR headset. I've got a link to their developer page in a moment. But basically, once you go into developer mode, there are a lot of hoops to go through, but they tell you how to make Android apps work on the MetaQuest VR. Now, they do have additional SDK, and what you could do with that is sorry, I got distracted by a message here. You can target the MetaQuest and the API there, and convert some of the APIs if it's necessary. You can use various things like chat and a few other advanced things to do that. But it's basically, you can wrap the calls. It's Java in the background, and you can wrap some of the calls and call it like that. But can you target the MetaQuest VR? Yes. You can put a device, you can put it on there. Now, I did have a MetaQuest device. However, I've moved, and this is the second time this happened, because last time I moved, I lost my knife fighting robot and then discovered it way later. So I haven't got access to it at the moment, but I can tell you I am going to write an app for the MetaQuest VR, and we're going to do it for the summer, because in the summer we're going to run a coding boot camp and have some prizes for people who do the best AI apps, and best apps including AI. We'll talk more about those details later, but one of the things I want to do is have an AI virtual headset for the MetaQuest and get it to do some very cool things, because I think that using some of the APIs that are out there, I can really bend people's brain with virtual reality. Can you imagine making your AI change the image that you're looking at, or translate something, or those kind of things? So a very, very interesting device. Raspberry Pi, at the moment, until we can do a Linux ARM compiler, the only way that you can target the Raspberry Pi is using a third-party library, and that is TMS Miletus. And that's actually a very nice little library. What it does, it works a bit like the libraries used by Spotify. I can't remember what they are, but it's a wrapper and allows you to create web apps using TMS Web Core effectively, and then you get full access to the hardware using Miletus. So in the Raspberry Pi, you can target things. However, one of the people who I know is in the chat, because he's always in there, is Boyan Mitov from Mitov Software. He pronounced it Mitov, but I've been saying Mitov for so long, my brain won't undo that. And he's got some very interesting stuff for all sorts of devices like that. And Boyan, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but you also target the Raspberry Pi, I think. But it's very interesting what you can do. The Raspberry Pi is a device I'm very, very interested in professionally, and I've done stuff with TMS Miletus, and I would like RAD Studio. This is me just saying what I would like personally. I would like RAD Studio to target the Raspberry Pi because I think it's going to be an important thing. Either that or later. I think it's a wraparound electron, Charles. No, actually, I don't know that is, but yes. I know what you're saying. I think Miletus is its own thing, but I could be wrong. I've used it. It just, you create a web core app and off it goes. Patrick says Amazon updated the Fire OS and some changes happen, but it's still possible from Delphi. Yes, exactly. I haven't looked at it for a couple of months, and in this world, a couple of months it is a long time in devices, and a couple of months later, you suddenly find that Amazon have changed everything, and Fire OS no longer supports apps. But it did used to do it fine because I used to target the device and ship some apps for someone who had Amazon Fire HD tablets, 8-inch and 10-inch, I think, and they use them as a kiosk app with a Delphi written app in Amazon Fire tablets. They are very, very cheap tablets. They're subsidized by Amazon and they're extremely cost effective. They're under $100 US, so it's very, very interesting. And Boyan is in the chat. Of course he is. And as he says, yes, Visuino supports Raspberry Pi. There you go. So Boyan Maitov, go to maitovsoftware.com and you can target the Raspberry Pi using Visuino. Visuino, if you don't know it, we did do a talk on it one Saturday a while ago. And we're going to do some more, aren't we, Boyan? And basically allows you to basically program the thing and drag and drop with pieces that you join up, a bit like live bindings or something like that, but it's way better, much more effective. Sorry, I just need to drink for a second. It's warm here in Dallas now, and that means the air conditioning's on all the time and it dries your throat out. So Visuino, yes, great. Boyan's fantastic. Patrick also says, if you want to know about Miletus, go here. It's a very interesting thing. You can target almost everything and get full full access to the hardware. Boyan says as well, you can connect to it from Delphi as well using Visuino. So there you go. Fantastic. Boyan is a real hidden gem. Raspberry Ops helps a lot. Good, thank you, Fabio. What about Risk V, Risk 5? Alexander, I honestly don't know the answer to that. I really don't know what the answer to that would be. I'm going to make a note of that and find out and talk about it another time. And Patrick says Miletus uses GTK3. Yes, there you go. I knew it was something. I didn't think it was a wrapper because I know they own the technology. Malcolm says I use Phonak AI hearing aids. Yes, actually, I've come across those before. Very good hearing aids. And the older you get, the more these hearing aids become important. Boyan also says you can target Risk V with Visuino. Oh my gosh, Boyan, you're the yes man for everything. And connect it to it from Delphi with Communications Lab. Fantastic. So if you're not sure, you really do need to go to Boyan's site and have a look at what he's got there. Let me just see if I've got a QR code for him. No, I don't. Well, we are going to talk more about it, but maitovsoftware.com. Right, next slide. So here are some devices you cannot program with RAD Studio. And I've put a star by the Roku because I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So technically, you cannot target the Roku streaming device. And the reason for that is that it's it's not really what you think it is. You would think it would be running something like Android or something like that. I believe deep underneath it somewhere, it's running a thing called a BusyBox, which was a Linux embedded Linux operating system that you it's designed for OEM manufacturers. However, Roku's API is not surfaced like that. Roku's API is entirely based on XML. I know it's weird, but that's pretty much what it is. And they do have a scripting language they call Bright Script, I think. And again, I'm going to show you the links to that. But you can't just go ahead and do that. I'm just going to block that rude spammer. You can't just target. It's not possible using RAD Studio at the moment. The other two things that are the big names that you can't target are the Apple Watch and the Apple Vision Pro. Now, Patrick says you can target the Apple Vision Pro. You sure? I thought you couldn't. Oh, well, I need to change that slide then, don't I? Ah, but you can't use all the features. Ah, okay, yes. I thought it couldn't run iOS apps directly. Well, do you know what? I was going to make a joke about Apple Vision Pro anyway, which is the fact that you might be able to target it, which is what I think we're saying now, is great because your 7 users worldwide that you will have are going to be very happy that you can write a Delphi app to use their headset because they will be crying out for apps. The Apple Vision Pro is a great idea. It's a beautiful, beautiful device. It's really wonderful to look at. All my apps on the App Store have been validated by Apple for the Apple Vision Pro. Wow. Ah, well, okay. I learned something today. But as Fabio says, and I completely was making the point, Apple Vision Pro is being discontinued. Yes. I think, I really do like Apple's design ethos. They're a fantastic company, but even they make a boo-boo sometimes, and I think the Vision Pro was definitely a misfire. It was not a great headset in terms of the weight of it and the comfort of it, but not only that, it just didn't capture the public imagination. I think that's the polite way of putting it, and it was extremely expensive, even for Apple, which is not cheap. And so, yeah, not a lot of people out there doing it. And if it's going to be discontinued, yeah, the fact that, as Patrick says, his apps have been validated for the Vision Pro, that's great. So yes, you can. I take that back. You can target the Apple Vision Pro, but you definitely can't target the Apple Watch. Now, with the Roku, you can, but really, you have to use their XML thing and their Bright script. So you could edit it in RAD Studio, but I think that's probably not what you're going to do. Hector Mendoza says, I started programming to Android from Delphi and noticed any application is really big in bytes. Actually, it's not as bad as it used to be. And also be careful how you deploy, because if you deploy packages that are containing debug information and things like that, that really stacks up quite quickly on the Android. I don't think it's as bad. I mean, I've not noticed a problem. They've been relatively small, the ones I've done, and yeah, they've been quite complex. The graphics, one thing to watch with FireMonkey is optimize your graphics so you're getting the right size for the graphics. Because if you have a 2K graphic and you put it on the screen and resize it so the control displays that graphic at a smaller size, the last time I checked, it doesn't internally resize that graphic, so it's still like a 2K pixel image, but you're displaying it at, say, 500 by 500. So what you should do instead is work out what resolution images you need and either put them into a multi-res bitmap image or something like that, which is very efficient, or use SVGs or something like that, which is scalable anyway, or optimize it to the exact size you're going to show it at. So if you're going to show it at 500 pixels, size that image to be 500 pixels. you'll find you can create a massive difference in the size of the package you are deploying if you do that kind of thing, and reduce the colors, only the colors you absolutely need. So let's talk about a few things where you can learn some more, because I haven't finished yet. There's a lot more stuff going. I created a special how-to playlist for mobile development, and actually all types of development. And you go to How to Delphi, and there's about everything you could ever want, really, how to do Windows. The reason I do that is these videos always appear on the Learn tab of RAD Studio's welcome page on the right-hand side. But I produce so many at the moment that they're dropping older ones off, even though they're only 2 or 3 months old. I've got so many that are coming out that I'm doing at the moment that they're pushing the content off the bottom. So if you go to this YouTube playlist, how to tinyurl.com/how to Delphi, there's a whole bunch of things in there, not just my videos, but everybody's. How to do a Windows app, how to do an Android app, all of the basics that you would want. Yes, actually, as Patrick says, for the moment we can't target the Apple TV either. Yes, correct. I meant to put that on there and I forgot. LG WebOS and other TVs OS. Tiago asked about WebOS, and it depends what the OS is of the TV. WebOS, no. By the very name of it, it is a web-based OS. So you could use something like TMS Web Core, or some technology like web stencils to create things like that. But no, generally speaking, it's not something you're going to be able to do. So that's a playlist with all the goodies you could ever want. And one thing in particular you want to look at, for 99% of the devices you're ever going to want to target that are not Windows PCs and not iPhones and iPads, then 99% of them are going to run some form of Android. And connecting to Android, I'm going to show you how to do that, a double way of doing it using ADB in a moment. But the basics are in this video. As you can see, it's reasonably popular, 13,000 views for that video. So it's doing okay. It's quite popular. And a lot of my webinars and videos do get quite a lot of views, so it's quite weird, but that one particularly stands out as getting quite a lot of views, 13,000. I've got some that are in the 27,000 range and things like that, but that one's doing pretty well. So a lot of people are obviously interested in Android because it's everywhere and it's free. If you want to do any of this stuff, I really do recommend going to delphiworlds.com, which is run by MVP Dave Nottage. This guy is like the hero of anything to do with Android and iOS and mobile in general. But if you look at the top of the screen there, you see the thing that says join the Slack team. I really do recommend you do this. Now, every time I do this, you get a whole bunch of people turn up. And Dave goes, "Hello, they've mentioned me again." And I'm like, "Yes, sorry about that." But anything to do with mobile development, excuse me, I recommend you join that Slack team, because that is fast becoming the de facto place to go for anybody who's doing any form of mobile development, or weird device development is another way of looking at it, non-Windows development. That's the place to go, Slack team. I think they have a Telegram channel as well now but so when we're talking about connecting to Galaxy watches and other types of watches, if it's possible to target them, then they will probably be running Android of some type. And that even includes the Samsung Galaxy watches, which they call Galaxy Wear, and I think they might call it Wear OS, but it is basically Android underneath. And if you go to their page, and I've created a link because their web page URL was like 70 characters long, but if you go to tinyurl.com, IB Samsung Watch, so tinyurl.com/IB Samsung Watch, Go to that page, and it tells you how to connect to a Galaxy Watch to Android Studio. Okay, don't worry about that because actually the instructions that are on there also apply to RAD Studio as well. And what you will get, hello Delphi Solutions. What you will get is some step-by-step instructions telling you how to do it. Now, unfortunately, I've put my little big box over the top of it, but that page tells you there are 2 IP addresses. It tells you how to go into developer mode with diagrams. Click, 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 and you click something like 7 times on the about box of the operating system for the watch, for the software version, I think it is. And it'll go into developer mode, and then you can turn on Wi-Fi and you can turn on Bluetooth. But basically, if you go to that page, it works for almost every other type of phone, Android watch out there. Some of them, and it's not many now, but some of them do have a USB port. If they do have a USB port and they're Android watches, you can plug it in and it'll work without any fiddling around whatsoever. It'll just work. But many of them now don't have a USB, and there's only 2 ways to connect to them. One of them is Bluetooth, and the other is Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi tends to be via the phone as well. Now, I'm not going to go through those options because it's a fiddly thing, and it's one of those things where I can show you it, but you're like, okay, it doesn't really sink in. Go to that page instead and just follow through the instructions. Now, it is going to tell you to run ADB, okay, the Android debugger. And it does tell you how to do that. And if you look in the top part of that screenshot there, you can see where I've written ADB connect 192.168.1.71 43395. That is me using Windows Terminal to connect to my watch and get the connection working so that I can deploy to it. Okay, how did I find that path? Well, if you're using RAD Studio 12 at the moment, then it will be that path where you say users public documents Embarcadero Studio 23.0 catalog repository, and then in there you'll have something that says Android SDK and then some number. And whatever one it is, go into platform tools, and then you can get to ADB from there. If you're not sure, if you've got multiple versions of that, go to voidtools.com, that's VOID tools.com, and download a product called Everything. It's absolutely free. And this is the fastest search you'll ever see on a Windows machine. You just type in a couple of characters like ADB, .exe or something like that, and it will find it instantly. So it's Void Tools Everything, and it's amazing. We can't say enough good things about it. It's completely free. And once you get there, you can follow those Samsung Galaxy instructions, and where it says about Android Studio, ignore that, and basically you're doing the same thing with RAD Studio. Now, one of the videos I'm going to point you to is from Silady Campos. She's one of our MVPs. She's based in Brazil. She's very, very smart, and she's also absolutely into Internet of Things stuff. Her and Boyan probably joined at the hip because he's the same. But you know, she was showing a thing on her Instagram, which is the bottom link there, Instagram/Silady Campos. She was showing a trash can where you throw your trash on the top of the trash can. So you know what a trash can looks like? It's a big cylinder, right? So you throw your trash on there. There's like a little indentation in the trash can. The trash can then works out whether what you've thrown into it is trash or recycling, and then tips it into the appropriate receptacle. It's absolutely fascinating. And on her Instagram, she said, "Hey, we should do this." She said it in Portuguese. he said we should do this, meaning to do this with Delphi, and I absolutely agree, and I said so, and we're probably going to do this as a demo. Get a smart trash can that works out whether it's recycling or not. So it uses AI vision, it uses some Internet of Things and stuff like that. So great person to follow. If you don't speak Portuguese, I recommend you. What she does do some English videos as well. If not, if it's written stuff on a website, then just go there and click translate button because it'll translate perfectly well. Portuguese is, it's one of those languages that Google is very helpful with. Also, Patrick is in our chat, but Patrick is the hero of DelphiBooks.com. So Delphi-books.com. And in there are books that will cover every single topic, like Pioneering Simplicity, a really, really good book by Marco G from GDK. And but there's all sorts of other books in there about HMX and all the rest of it. I think pretty much every book you could ever want about one or more topics to do with Delphi is in that book site. And one of those books, which is another one that goes into great depth about connecting up to various devices, again with instructions step by step, so you don't need me to tell you how to do it, is by David Cornelius, Fearless Cross-Platform Development. He goes into some quite interesting subjects as well. From my favorite publisher, Packet, who they've published quite a few Delphi books. And there's another one there as well by Andrea Magni, who's been on the webinar before with me, and I've talked about before, GUI programming in FireMonkey, because in there he talks about some of the cool tricks that you can do to make things fit on the screen. And also, I did mention him earlier on, but why is it that I think Dave is very useful, Dave Nottage? And that is because of Castry. Now, Castry it fills in the blanks, shall we say, of the bits that Embarcadero have not done in RAD Studio for whatever reason. We couldn't do it, or we didn't have the time, or whatever. But it's a wonderful library. It's open source. If you can donate, if you can afford to, and you use Castry, I really do suggest that you do so. It doesn't matter how much it is. If he has 1,000 people giving $10, and most people can afford $10 or £10 or whatever, he's doing well. It's made him worth his while working on that library recently. I mean, he does other things as well. And Malcolm says, and this is a good point, and I'm actually going to bring this up in another webinar. He has the Delphi in all its glory series, well worth the investment in both time and money. Yes, go to Delphi-books.com, and he's got a whole bunch of books on there that we didn't even know about until recently. I made the author that wrote that, I made him an MVP, and we're going to have him on later in the year to talk about that. There's really great books, Delphi in all its glory, really, really good stuff. So anyway, Castry, go there and down that library. And also slightly self-promotion, but not. There's also a course on Embarcadero Academy by me, and I don't get any money for this, but if you have purchased a license recently, or I think you upgrade it or anything like that, when your license code for the product comes through, you'll get a little serial number that gets this course to you for free. So Embarcadero Academy, and it's mastering mobile app development, so it's got quite a lot of stuff on it. All the step by step, lots of diagrams and all the rest of it. Dave Nottage, that this is the magic of Android. Yes, of Delphi Android. Yeah, Dave Nottage is a really great guy. He and I we chat quite often about various topics and things like that. And we were working on some stuff the other day together, and for a different webinar actually. And he really knows his stuff. Anyway, that's the end of the slides. Let's have a quick look at some video content. So I'm just going to stop sharing that and go to here and say stop sharing. And probably should turn my camera back on so you can see me. Right, so lots of comments and stuff like that. Yes. What about LG? Well, yeah, this was a question I don't know the answer to. Again, this depends on other TVs OS. If it's based on Android TV, which is increasingly becoming a standard, then yes, you can deploy it. If it's a Roku TV, then you need to go to the Roku developers page. And actually, let me just share my screen again for a moment, because I will talk about that for a moment. So say this screen share. So this is the Roku developers page, and you go, it is literally developer.roku.com. And when you go on there, they talk about what their platform is, they talk about the programming languages, but as they will talk about it here, they will basically say that they're HTML and JavaScript. It's weird, but they have this XML-based framework, and I think we can do something with that in RAD Studio. So I'm going to look at that. BrightScript is a scripting language. I don't like it very much, but you can, in theory, target it. So you could just deploy some XML and HTML to this thing, and off you go. They've got a lot of rules, and I really want to target Roku. They've got a Hello World thing, which I think is on here. Here we go. Yeah, they've got Hello World example that shows you how to make it work. It's really easy. But I like the Roku devices. I've got a lot of time for them. I think they're a lot of fun. Let me just go back to my screens. Hold on just 1 second. The other thing that I talked about was the MetaQuest. Here we go. So the MetaQuest, which is an interesting device, and you can go again, and everybody's doing this now, but it's developers.meta.com, as you can see in the top there, and go there, and really it talks about Android, and it's really reasonably straightforward. It tells you what the devices are called, because they've got specific tags and things like that. Once you start trying to target these devices, you'll understand what that means. But they talk about, you know, what things you get with the camera, what the resolution is, and all the rest of it. But basically, it's Android. And if you follow through and go through with the instructions on how to enable developer mode, which is no more difficult than any other developer device, actually. It tells you where to click and all the rest of it, you know, virtual click in the headset, so you look a bit weird to anybody watching you. But Meta Horizon, yeah, it's very, very interesting, and I think it's a great device. But it wasn't particularly easy for me, again, to demonstrate these kind of things live on there. So there you go. Now let me just pull up one other thing. So a couple of little bits here. I think this is the video that we want. Video clips. So just to show you that you can target almost any device, this is a clip I've shown in a previous webinar, but this is Jim McKeith 13 years ago or more, targeting a device that's a neural link, and it used exactly the same technology as Android and Galaxy Watches and all the rest of it. So I can't talk while this is on, but here's the clip.
Application I wrote here that does the processing of everything. This is going to connect to the headset and then connect to the quadcopter and send the information back and forth. And then I have another app actually that Chris has running on Google Glass here that I'm going to bring up here as well. So actually tap the side and say, okay, Glass, show my thoughts.
Okay, Glass, show my thoughts.
Did the app pop up?
Sure did.
Okay, great. So this display right here is what he sees on Google Glass. And so App Method has this really cool technology called app tethering that allows apps on different devices to be tethered in real time to share information. So that's what I'm doing is I'm going to share the information from the main app to Google Glass so that he's able to see what's going on. So that way he doesn't have to look at the screen, he can just look at the drone. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to train this to get a mental image of your brain, and then we're going to repeat those commands to control it. So the first training we're going to do is neutral. This is just to get a baseline for your brain, okay? So just neutral thoughts, no pressure at this point. Okay, so now we've got a baseline for your brain. So now we're going to train it to rotate right. So rotate right is going to cause the quadcopter to just rotate to the right. So what I found works really good is not to move, but just to think about something that you associate with rotating right. So it's important to include as much of your brain in this as possible, but the most important thing is it's reproducible.
Okay.
Okay? So whatever you can reproduce that you can associate with rotating right is what we're going to do. All right?
Gotcha.
You ready? All right, so we're training for rotate right now. Okay? So now, go ahead and think rotate right, and we'll see if this bar graph shows anything. There we go. See, it's picking up your thoughts to rotate right. That's good. That's really good. So now I'm going to tap this button here and connect to the quadcopter. And the quadcopter is going to pick up about 3 feet off the ground. Quadcopter is going to pick up about 3 feet off the ground and hover, and at that point, Chris is going to be in control and make rotate right. So if it rotate right, everybody can clap and applause and cheer for Chris here. So here we go. Here it's taken off. All right. So now go ahead and think about rotating right, Chris. There we go. That's Chris right there rotating it right.
Yeah, I mean, Jim used to come up with the most amazing demos. I do a few myself, but this 30 for 30 series has been more about explaining concepts and stuff like that. Okay, so I just wanted to show you there that that's device, the emotive, that you can still connect to using RAD Studio. In fact, it's easier to say what devices can't you connect to using RAD Studio than what can you connect to, because you know, I can't think of one really off the top of my head, apart from the ones we did mention, that you can't connect to, because that's the whole point about connectivity with these devices. I connect to you know, the fingerprint scanners and the hand scanners and door locks. The apartment that I'm living in has got a smart lock as well, and it controls the thermostat, controls the front door lock and things like that. What was the first thing I did once I had my office set up here? Yeah, I've looked at what's going on. It's Bluetooth, and it's got a little 4G connection there that's going off out into the ether. Very clever. And yes, I did check that it's firewalled away from my network, because my network's a really powerful fiber network. But you can do anything, so it's good to know that you know that I can probably change my own thermostat. The app they've written is all right, but it's got quite a few bugs in it. So I'm thinking, well, I might write my own version and see if they notice. I also think where I live here, it's right in central Frisco, on the north side of Dallas, and very central to Frisco. And someone, who was it who said this? Why isn't the dog more in focus? You mean him here? He's about 7 or 8 feet away from me, and because of the way the lighting works, oh, see, he's woken up now. He's wondering what I'm doing. Because of the way the lighting works, it will focus on the thing that's the brightest, which is why I have a camera, what's known as a fill light, shining on me, so I stay a bit more in focus. But the AI focus is autofocusing cameras, bit of a pain, to be honest. So if that's what you meant, that's why he's not in focus. If you meant the other pictures, because we're taking close up on a face. So yes, you know, I'm downtown in Frisco, and there's lots of stuff going on. Thousands of people live in this particular area as well. And because of that, the floor plan is very complicated where I live. It's a bit like a big hotel. Sounds cool, doesn't it? It's a fairly luxury area. And for the first 3 days, I used to get lost all the time. And that's an app where I think a thing called Bluetooth beacons would be very useful, where you could go, oh, I want to go and find the mail room, because we don't have mailboxes, we have a mail room. And also there's a package concierge. So if we get any deliveries, they're not stuffed outside our front door. They're taken to a package locker system that's all automated via codes and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, I could write some Delphi apps to make this better. And I really believe that I can do that, because I've looked and all those packages are flying around. Lots of them aren't encrypted, which is a very bad idea. If you're going to send traffic across the open wires of the internet, you should use encryption. And many of these devices, once you've programmed one of them, they're all the same. Ask Boyan, he'll tell you this. Once you've got an ESP32 based device talking to you, you can talk to any of them. I've got dozens of them. I've got all sorts of, my keys aren't here, but I've got tags and Bluetooth energy things and stuff like that. So, it's not what can you program with RAD Studio. It's really more a question of what can't I program with RAD Studio. And it's good stuff. Anyway, I wanted to cover that subject, so that's it for me today. I'm off to go and do some other things now. On Friday, excuse me, is our last webinar in the 30 for 30 series. I think we've got one on Thursday, but I think that might be an internal one, actually, when I think about it. It's not open to the public, but we have one on Friday, is the 30th webinar. Technically 33rd or 4th, because I did a few extras. We're going to talk all about community and user groups and some of the events that are happening throughout the year, throughout the world, because in the next 6 months there are dozens, I think, of events, both local and worldwide, that are happening. The Delphi Summit, of course, is the big one as far as I'm concerned. For Europe. So if you're in Europe, go to there. It's a really, really great event, and I'll be there, and just about everybody I know, of my colleagues and all sorts of other things. Oh, dog's off. Oh, he's got to lie down on the floor now. Yeah, we'll be at the Delphi Summit. It's a really great event. It was last year's was fantastic, and this year's looking like it's going to be even busier. And whilst we're at it, until this Friday, there is a competition not run by me, I hasten to add, not run by Embarcadero at all, actually. And it is, let me just pull it up. I've only got a QR code, but it is this one, and it is for Minesweeper. And the idea is that you can create a Minesweeper clone. And, Minesweeper, where you used to click on squares and try and avoid the bombs. And this is a competition. There is a $500 US prize for it. It's being sponsored by Peganza, who do Pascal Analyzer, a really great little product there. I know Peganza is a good company. And Darian Miller, one of our MVPs. If you go to that site, it tells you all about it. And you really should, if you can't. Tiana says, what a lazy dog. You know what that is? That is pretty much his default setting is lazy. Where I've moved, there's a park nearby, and I do start walking him around. Both of us could do with losing some waistline. And Patrick says next conference is May the 7th in London. Yes, and funny enough, despite being a Londoner, I'm not going to that one because I live 4,500 miles away in the United States, in Dallas. But yes, the next one is co-run by Grey Matter, I think, and Embarcadero. So that's a good event. Patrick, are you going to that one? You can tag me in the comments. Possibly not, I imagine. It's a bit of a trek over for you, but maybe you'll be saving yourself up for Amsterdam. I know you're going to that one. Anyway, so that's it. So Friday, all things considered, we will be hitting the last one. I'm going to do a few nostalgic things, play a few clips, talk about the Christmas event that we did and a few other things as well. And the communities, like I say, that are around there, some of the sites, the book sites and things like that. Also, there's a AI training thing going on if you want to do that. And also, oh, I nearly forgot to mention, oh my gosh, I would be in so much trouble if I got to mention this. And that is, if you want to take part in choosing the name for version 13 of RAD Studio, the next version will be version 13. We're not scared of 13. Trixidicophobia. Go here. Oh, sorry, no, wrong one. Go here, this link, and read the article. It's written by Atanas Popov, our president of IDEA's Code Tools division. My big boss, I suppose. It's all right. I get okay with him. And very super enthusiastic guy. But go there. We have narrowed down the names that we want to choose. Now, the choice is between Florence and Syracuse. Okay, both of them in Italy. One is famous for Leonardo da Vinci, and the other one is famous for Archimedes and many other things. The birth of the Renaissance was in that area. Why did we only give you the choice of two names and not your own names? Well, if you go to Facebook, one of the Delphi groups, you'll see why. Because we had something like 300 people comment about it, and on there they're like, "Oh, call it, West Wickham." Because they come from West Wickham. Oh, you should call it Boise, because I come from Boise. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't sound like that, would they? Oh, you should call it, Gladstone Bensington, some random. And so we had a list of. That's why we didn't offer a choice. We know what the theme is, and just so you know, when we pick the names of the products like Athens, and the rest of it, we actually take a lot of time to, and actually me as much as anything, to just check into the background of it and make sure that it's not named after something that's got a horrible connotation. We even do that for the beta names. Some of the betas out there you may have heard of in the past, like Santorini was the beta for 12.3. We even check those names are not accidentally offensive. Can you imagine what it's like? We're in every country in the world and almost every language in the world. And if we pick a name, Gary says, I say call it Lagos. Yeah, you know what? That would be great. and maybe there will be a version in the future that is named after places like Lagos and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with Lagos. It's be perfectly credible choice, I think, actually. Yeah, I go around and check those names. We were for a long time naming the betas for version 12 after islands, Greek islands. And I'm not telling you anything that's secret really now. And many Greek islands are named after Greek mythology, Greek gods and Greek heroic figures from Athenian legend and stuff like that. Because Delphi is in Greece. And, Greek mythology contains an awful lot of bad stuff going on. And I mean bad stuff. Stuff like, you would not be acceptable in polite company and would make grandma's hair fall out. So we had to not use some of those names because the last thing you want is your name associated if someone Googles it and up comes a legend of someone eating babies or something random like that. Ignacy says Andromeda. Yes. You know what? Funnily enough, you should say that. There are some names that we're thinking about that may be to do with planets in the future, but that's another matter. So Syracuse, yes. Syracuse is the city of Archimedes, actually an ancient Greek city. Yes, incorrect. It is definitely those one or two choices. Syracuse is in Sicily, place of volcanoes. It's a good reason enough. Yeah. Of course, Steve Geordie is a guy who actually literally trots around volcanoes. I don't know how he does it, but he's there. Yes, I have a lot of Florence pictures for next background images, but more girls than city pictures. Oh, Patrick, yeah, what a Frenchman you are. I love it. And Syracuse is more difficult. Yes, exactly. But those are the choices. I wait for version 458 to be my city. Yeah, well, there was a RAD Studio London, I think, at one point, and I wasn't working for Embarcadero then. That would have been great because that's where I was born. I was born in South London, so actually East London, technically Southeast London. In World Tracker app, yes, exactly. I just thought it was a good idea to do an app for this location because it's not as straightforward, is it? Roma, May the 23rd as well. Yes. Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay. All right. Well, all good stuff. I hope I taught you something. Friday is the last one. Make it a bit of fun and a few bits and bobs. I'll see if I can get a few people to join me, but maybe not. And the dog may be sleeping over that side or over this side, depending on how he feels, and might even get him to wake up at some point, sit on my lap and talk to me. He's a good boy. Is there anyone I've got left now, mate? Yeah, me and you. He doesn't care. He's got to sleep. That's all he does. He's very well trained. He's the perfect office dog. When I'm coding, doesn't bother me. To be fair, he has got a stack of treats on his bed, if you see there. So that is possibly why he's feeling a little bit sleepy. He's full up. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And I will see you on Friday, same time, for the last one. And thank you too, Boyan. I'll speak.